The doors of your car will close automatically. Please keep your head and arms inside and remain seated at all times. And please, no smoking. Thank you.
Matterhorn Matt presents Matterhorn Mondays.
Hey there, Mountaineers. Welcome to episode 32 of Matterhorn Mondays. I'm your host, Matterhorn Matt.
And I'm Alex the Historian.
And Alex, for those viewers who, for some reason, don't know who you are, why don't you give a little rundown of what kind of videos you make?
Absolutely. Well, basically, I'm an amateur Disneyland historian, and I've made several different types of shows on my channel. My most popular show is a lecture series where I talk about each individual ride from what it used to be all the way until what it is now, and that one's called Disneyland History Today, which is my flagship show. And then currently, right now, I'm doing another little show where I talk about specific items within the park that have historical interest, and that's called Fun Fact Friday. So that happens every Friday. And then starting this week, I'm going to be returning to doing my vlogs at Disneyland, where I kind of talk about historical things at Disney. So that's basically my channel, and I've been around for maybe almost 3 years, I think. Maybe 2 years.
Yeah, guys, he makes really amazing videos. For the people out there who aren't already subscribed to Alex, I would definitely recommend going out, giving him a subscribe, watching all of his videos tonight in one night. You don't have to do that. Let's see. Let's get into today's topics. We didn't have any Disney news to talk about today. I couldn't find any from the search I did earlier, but today's two topics are best and worst times to visit the park, and Alex and I are going to go into a discussion of Disneyland's size. I should point out that Alex did upload a video, I believe today, about this topic, so for those of you guys who might get sort of lost during the discussion, you should definitely go over to his channel, check out the video, and yeah, let's get into... That's not the right screen. There we go. Let's get into the first topic, which is best and worst times to visit Disneyland. Now, as a non-local, I only get to visit the park during summer times, so I can only really give my, I guess my experiences from the let's see, May to August sort of time of the year. But since Alex just so happens to be an annual pass holder, he can give us much more insight on a lot of the other times of the years, like spring or winter, or what is it, fall, autumn? I never know which to call it. I just go with autumn. But let's see.
I believe there are 3 seasons in the year.
Oh, including summer too, but let's see. Let's go ahead and get started with the summer season. Now, the summer season, it's... I'd like to point out, first of all, that Disneyland doesn't really have off seasons anymore. The park is is busy almost every day of the year, almost. Not from personal experience, that's just from what I've seen, what I've heard from friends who visit the parks, from Twitter, stuff like that. But like I said, let's go ahead and get started with the summer season. Now, in my opinion, I'd say the summer season would be the busiest, but then again, I could be wrong. But I'm just gonna go and say that the summer season, at least in my experience, is the busiest, just because that's when I guess that's when a lot of people get off from school. That's when a lot of parents take their kids on vacation. You don't really get that kind of stuff in the winter or autumn season unless it's Christmas time or New Year's, all that jazz. But Alex, why don't you give your thoughts on I guess the summer season of Disneyland and how busy it is?
Sure. Well, basically, the summer season is one of the busiest times of the year. And in recent past, the summer season has been the busiest time of the year. But I noticed a pattern, which was in the past couple years, they have started blocking out annual pass holders, even at the highest tier, during summertime. So that actually reduces the crowds a lot. And sometimes, and I've seen this on Mice Chat, sometimes they report some pretty normal days at Disneyland during summertime. So I wouldn't be surprised if there were a few weeks during summer where it's pretty okay to visit the park. But definitely, I think that if you want to visit the park during summertime, I think the best time of summer to go is at the end of summer, because that's when a lot of schools and things start returning into class, and kids go back to school. So that's when things start slowing down at Disney. It's hard to say because, once again, it's still one of the busiest times of the year, nevertheless. But yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on summertime.
I believe I conquered Space Mountain. I think that's Swagford. He says, I went in July and it wasn't crowded, so that's interesting. I guess July is sort of the tail end. I'm not 100% sure on what the cutoffs for these seasons are, but I'm just going to go with early August, I'm assuming, is the end of the summer season, or maybe mid-August is the end of the summer, start of the fall season. Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, late August.
Late August, okay. Well, yeah, in my experience of the past however many times I've been to the park with my family, we've only ever gone during the summer season, but it does get really crowded during the let's see, we normally go, I believe this last year we went in June, I want to say, and it was decently crowded. There was I'm trying to remember. There were, yeah, I'm just going to say it was decently crowded. There were long lines for a lot of the rides, and plus the weather, you got to take account for the weather in whatever kind of season you're going to be visiting the parks. I mean, of course it's not going to be snowing. I don't think it snow. I'm 99% sure that it does not snow in Southern California. So you're probably good when it comes to visiting during the winter seasons if you're worried about snow. But during the summer season is when it gets really, I'm putting an emphasis on really, really, really hot. I remember this last year was one of the hottest years I've ever experienced when I went to California. You just got to make sure you stay hydrated. That's one thing a lot of people fail to do, is to bring a bottled water with them, refill the bottled water if it runs empty. Ice cream can help with that too. But yeah, one thing I did want to point out was to keep in mind the weather that's gonna be happening when you're visiting the parks, or even just when you're visiting Southern California in general. But yeah, Alex, any last things to say about the summer season of Disneyland?
Well, besides the tips for staying hydrated and all that, I would say just no, I don't know. I don't think I have anything to say. I was gonna add more tips to that, but I couldn't think of anything at the last minute.
Well, I guess one thing we should point out, not necessarily, well, this summer is with the opening of Pixar Pier. I can't remember the exact date on when that opens. But you do want to keep in mind if there are any sort of major openings of any new lands or any new attractions. I believe Galaxy's Edge opens next year in August, I'm assuming. August, late July. I'm not 100% sure on that. I don't think they've announced it yet, but like I said, one thing you do want to keep in mind is if any new rides are... I'm just repeating myself at this point. You guys heard me the first time. Let's move on to our autumn season. Now, of all the seasons I would choose to visit Disneyland, I feel like this would be the one I would pick to visit out of all the other seasons. I mean, just look at this picture. Look at how awesome the giant Mickey pumpkin. That's awesome. You can't say it's not awesome. But like I said, I've never visited the parks during any of these times. But Alex, what has your experience been when visiting the parks during fall season?
Oh, fall season. It's beautiful. I mean, in my opinion, it's totally a beautiful time of year to visit because I love to see the pumpkins out. I love to see the autumn colors and the orange and red stripes that they have on Main Street and things like that. I love seeing they have a thing called the Halloween tree in Frontierland where they decorate this tree up to look like to represent Ray Bradbury's book, The Halloween Tree. And I mean, the park just looks really great, and they have some amazing foods and things like that at Disneyland. So my experience with it is it's one of my favorite times of year to visit. I mean, it's actually my second favorite time of the year to visit the park. And of course, the park is fully open, so most of the rides are operating and things like that during this time. But one thing you have to be aware of is the crowds. This is where it starts getting super busy. I'm talking busier than summer.
Oh, really?
Yes, because there's a brief period of time in the early fall, early autumn, same thing, that the park is somewhat slow. So you can go in and have a lot of fun, get a lot of rides. But then as it creeps towards the end of September, getting closer to Halloween, that's when it starts getting really busy. And you can bet that during the October month, the park will be jam-packed with people because everybody wants to visit during Halloween time. And one of the reasons why people go to Disneyland during the fall season, which starts in mid-September, the reason why people go is because that's when they reopen Haunted Mansion as the Haunted Mansion Holiday. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of people there during October. So if you're going to go in fall season, go early fall, either before September 19th or if you have to afterwards, then try to go during September. Forget about October. Just forget it. Okay?
That's interesting. I did not expect you to say that I'm just going to say the Halloween season. The Halloween season to be busier than the summer season. I guess it's understandable. Not a lot of people... Man, I had a whole thing I was going to say in my head. I'm just gonna move on from that. I'm not gonna be able to remember. But yeah, like Alex said, Halloween season is very beautiful. And also, like I said earlier, I have not been during Halloween season, but I would like to go. Hopefully, in the future sometime. I'd like to take my whole family. But I mean, what is there to say? I've never been on the Haunted Mansion overlay. What is it called again? The Nightmare Before Christmas overlay.
Haunted Mansion Holiday.
Haunted Mansion Holiday. Interesting. I always assumed that would be more of a Christmas season attraction than a Halloween time attraction. That could just be me.
You've actually... No, you have that right on the nose, actually. The Haunted Mansion Holiday, it started out in 2001, and it was designed for Christmas only. But it was so popular that a few years later, it became part of Halloween season too. So, but it originally was a Christmas only thing.
That's interesting. I feel like I think we've said this in some capacity in other episodes, but I don't like the fact that they changed the Haunted Mansion for how many months is it changed for? Like 2, maybe 3? I don't know the exact numbers.
No,
but
4 months.
4 months.
4
wow,
months.
I was way off.
Because it's mid-September through mid-January. Interesting. So
I don't think I'd be okay with losing the Haunted Mansion for 4 months out of the year, just for an overlay that you can see maybe a couple times, and then of course you've seen it after those couple times. You don't need to see it again. I feel like I'd miss the Haunted Mansion after the first month.
Oh, you're totally right on that, because I mean, I love the Haunted Mansion holiday, but I feel like it's there way too long, because I mean, for one thing, the Haunted Mansion is the perfect ride by itself to ride during Halloween time. There's no need for it to be Christmas themed. But that's the part of the year that I really miss the original ride, and they have it overlaid for 4 months. And believe me, as an annual pass holder who gets to go there all the time, it kind of sucks when you really like want to go on the original Haunted Mansion and then it's full of Nightmare Before Christmas stuff. So, but that's kind of the balance that you get there. Not balance. What am I trying to say? That's the kind of thing you get when you visit there year round, is because they have to do things for the visitors who don't get to come that often. So people who wanted to see the Haunted Mansion holiday had to wait until Christmas time. So Disney just said, you know what, we're just gonna have it run through Halloween as well. So that's how it happened.
Yeah, and I don't believe they have the Haunted Mansion or the Nightmare Before Christmas overlay in Walt Disney World. I'm 99% sure that it's Disneyland exclusive, although someone did send me a tweet yesterday at 3 in the morning saying how Disney was planning to theme the Haunted Mansion in Walt Disney World to Coco during, I think it was the Halloween season. I don't know. It was from some obscure Disney site that I've never heard of, so I didn't really take the article too seriously. I didn't even read the article. I just read the headline and said no. But like I said, Halloween time, very beautiful. I would like to go. I guess that's it. I would like to go. Another thing we should mention is, I guess, sort of the events that they do during the Halloween season. I believe they do is it the Mickey Not So Scary Halloween Party, or is that the one in the Magic Kingdom?
Oh geez, I forget.
Because I think there's 2 different versions of the Disneyland one and the Magic Kingdom one, and I always get the names mixed up. I can't even remember the name of the other one, but we could just call it the Not So Scary Halloween Party, just for until someone corrects us in chat. Have you ever had any experience with the Halloween party, Alex?
I actually did once, and that was because I worked there that night.
Oh. Okay.
So I've never gone as a guest, but I did experience it as a cast member, and during my the hours that I wasn't on the clock, I was kind of wandering around the park and looking around and seeing things. And let me tell you, the Halloween party at Disneyland is awesome.
Really?
I mean, people think, oh, it's just for kids, but no, it's for the whole family. It is absolutely amazing. They decorate. Okay, the Rivers of America area along New Orleans Square and Frontierland, they have the special fog machines going at that time, and then they light it up in purple, and then they decorate the sailing ship Columbia as like a ghost ship, and it just looks really cool at night. And they have special projectors up along Main Street and in Frontierland, where they have like skulls and ghosts and things like that projected on the ground. And and there's spooky lighting everywhere, so it's purple or green and stuff like that, and it looks really cool. And the the fireworks show, it's not my favorite fireworks show. I'm not a fan of it, but it is super popular. So a lot of people like the fireworks show that happens during the Halloween party. And the best part is that you have your kid brings their little candy bag.
Yeah.
They have a special Disneyland candy bucket or something like that. And they can go to the little candy stations and say trick or treat and then get their candy. So, and there's no limit as to how many times you can go to each station,
Ooh,
I think.
really?
So, yeah, so it's a really cool event. If anybody wants to go, I highly suggest it. I mean, it's hard to get in because the tickets sell out so quickly, but if you get a chance to go, I don't think you'll be disappointed. It's really fun.
Now, I would like to ask the people who are watching us right now, people in chat, type in chat if you've ever experienced the Mickey's Halloween party, not the not so scary Halloween party. The Mickey's Halloween party in Disneyland. Type in chat if you've ever experienced it, and we'll read off some of what you have to say. So let's see. Moving on to the Christmas, or I guess winter season. This would be I don't know. I feel like this would be tied for me with Halloween season of times that I really want to visit the parks. Man, just look at how beautiful that the Sleeping Beauty's castle is with all those lights. It'd be a dream come true. But anyways, now I feel like Christmas season would be the most, if not tied for the most, crowded time of the year. You'd think that since it's Christmas time, a lot of people would be home with their family, opening presents around the Christmas tree, but it's actually the complete opposite. Lots and lots of people visit the parks during Christmas time, even on Christmas Day. Like I said earlier, I have not visited during this time, but Alex, what is your experience with visiting the park during the winter/Christmas season?
Well, remember how I said that the Halloween time is my second favorite time of the year at Disneyland? Well, Christmas time is my number one favorite time of the year to visit Disneyland because it is so beautiful. I mean, it is twice as beautiful as the fall time because they have lights everywhere. They have special Christmas lights on the trees. They have lights and garland hung up along Main Street, and Main Street looks like this. It honestly, it looks like this beautiful painting, like from Thomas Kincaid or something. It looks that beautiful, and you could every photograph you take of Main Street during Christmas time is a jewel. It is just absolutely beautiful, and then the castle, as you can see the photograph, the castle is lit up so beautifully at night, and it just glows from all around the park. It makes people want to go towards it and take photographs of it. So the beauty of the park, and then they have Christmas music. So the Christmas music they have is some of my favorite. I love the Christmas music, and they have special like music box type music that plays along Main Street, which I love. I love the little plucking of the music box sound of the Christmas music. So I love that. They do something special where you can buy a handmade candy cane off of the candy shop on Main Street. So you have to get you have to buy it specifically and then get a ticket for it, and you have to wait in line to get your candy cane because it is that popular. But they're handmade candy canes made at Disneyland, and they're huge. They're like the big ones, the jumbo ones that you can see at like Christmas stores or whatever. But anyway, so like you said a few minutes ago, people think that, oh, well, no one goes during Christmas time or even on Christmas Day. They think that no one goes on Christmas Day because everyone's at home. Well, nope. People make their plans to go to Disneyland on Christmas. So it is the busiest time of the year next to New Year's Eve. So it is super busy and stuff. If you want to visit Disneyland during Christmas time, which I highly suggest you do, then I would say it's best to visit during mid-November to late November. Try not to go during December, because if you do, it's going to be super, super packed. But so the Christmas season at Disneyland starts mid-November and then goes on to mid-January. So anyway, you can visit that, or you can go after New Year's up until mid-January. That's another time of year you can go, but you can bet that it's still pretty busy during that time, because a lot of people get like special passes to Disneyland for their Christmas gift. So anywho, I feel like I'm talking a lot. That is my suggestion for when you visit during Christmas time.
Now, I mentioned earlier of how Christmas time is one of the times that I really wish I could visit the parks, but hearing you say all that and hearing all of the other experiences that I've heard from visiting Christmas time, I feel like it would also be one of the times that I would like to stay away from the parks, just because of how crowded it is. Especially New Year's. I feel like New Year's might even be just as popular or as busy as Christmas Day is, but it's so strange to me to think that a family would visit Disneyland during Christmas time. That could just be me. I'd rather be spending it at home with my family than in Disneyland, but that could just be me. Yeah. Let's see. Moving on to the spring season. Let's see. I feel.
Oh wait.
Oh, what's up?
Oh, I forgot to warn people about going to Disneyland on New Year's.
Oh, okay.
Don't do it. Just don't do it. Just forget it. Just cast away all your ideas of it being a fun day at Disneyland on New Year's, okay? It is the busiest day of the entire year at Disneyland, and it is scary busy. I mean, people have panicked in the crowds before because they felt like they couldn't move. So it is crazy busy. Just avoid it. That's what I'm gonna say.
I've seen videos of, I think it was Epcot on New Year's, and it did not look like an enjoyable time. People shoulder to shoulder, but anyways, moving on to the spring season. I feel like we won't really have a lot to talk about when it comes to the spring season. It's sort of the midway point between autumn. What am I saying? I can't. For some reason, I can't recall the order the seasons come in. But anyways, moving on past that embarrassing me not being able to remember the seasons. Alex, what is your experience going to visit the parks during springtime?
Springtime is a particularly special time of the year because it's not so much about the decorations as it is the flora of Disneyland. They decorate the park in so many different colors of flowers, and the trees at Disneyland bloom in pink, and it's a really beautiful time of the year when it comes to the natural parts of Disneyland. And if you want to visit during that time of the year, which is a good suggestion that you do because it's really pretty, you should visit during the like before the spring break time of the year. I would say like late February, early March, and then again you can visit also in May to June time. So those are the 2 times during spring that you should visit, because between that is spring break, and all the kids get out of school and go to Disneyland, and so the park becomes really crowded. But anyway, so springtime at Disneyland is just so beautiful. The trees bloom, the flowers are everywhere and are gorgeous, and you get really great pictures of the castle during springtime, and the weather is pretty nice compared to summer or fall, which, you know, as a matter of fact, the weather is in Southern California is so strange. The hottest time of the year is fall, not summer. So it's like, yeah, it's really weird. So, but you still get somewhat winter type weather during springtime here in Southern California. So it's a little strange that way. Sometimes you get gloomy days and stuff like that. But in any case, beautiful time of the year to visit. I highly suggest it. And was there anything else I wanted to say about springtime? All I can say is the slowest time of the year for the park is before spring break. So like I said, it's late February to early March, and that's the best time of the year to visit because it's the slowest. But there's the trade-off, is the fact that that time of the year, a lot of the rides are closed for refurbishment. So they reopen for spring break, just in time for spring break. So anyway, that's what you have to work with. It's the slowest time of the year before spring break, but some of the rides are closed, especially like right now, Splash Mountain is closed, and Dumbo's closed, and some other things. I'm not going to go down the whole list of what's closed, but yeah, that's what I have to say.
Now, Alicia did say in chat, watch out for Grad Nights in May. I've heard horror stories of people talking about Grad Nights. I've never experienced one, but Alex, have you ever experienced a Grad Night at Disneyland that you'd like to share a story with us?
Oh, God. I have experienced more Grad Nights than I can count. Being a cast member there, so many Grad Nights. And as a matter of fact, the Grad Nights at Disneyland are so wild that they stopped doing it last year at Disneyland,
Really?
and now they move it to California Adventure.
Oh,
So
interesting.
so the Grad Nights, okay, the Grad Nights start off really fun. Like, it's like, oh, the kids are there, it's still evening time, the sun is going down, and there's music playing, and everybody's all happy, and of course it's all the popular music with all the bad words cut out. You know, and so it starts off as this fun night, and you're like, oh wow, this is really cool. Like, who wouldn't love to be with just everybody your age at Disneyland? No adults, whatever. But then it slowly becomes like like from Pinocchio, like Pleasure Island.
Oh my gosh.
It starts becoming like a total crazy place. And let me tell you, I have seen so much, and I'm going to try to keep it G-rated here, but I have seen lots of overdoses.
Oh, really?
I have seen lots of kids high on all kinds of stuff. I have seen teenagers getting it on in the bushes. And yeah, it is crazy, just absolutely crazy. And I mean, there's just so many rules that we have to follow during that, what do you call them? The Grad Nights, because so many things can happen, and Disney's already seen it. I mean, Disney's been having Grad Nights since the 70s. So, I mean, Disney already knows everything to expect, and we have to look out for things like, we can't let the kids nap. Like, you know, on a normal day at Disneyland, your kids want to nap, and you sit down at a table and people nap. That's fine. But during Grad Nights, kids are not allowed to nap, because we have to, as cast members, we have to keep our eyes out for kids that are overdosed or are drunk beyond healthiness. I don't know what to call that. And so the other thing too is the kids are not allowed to have their hoods up or have their sunglasses on because we have to be able to look at their eyes and be able to see their face and make sure that they are healthy. and then of course the kids do all sorts of crazy stuff on the rides. I mean, I'm talking kids jumping out of pirate boats. I'm talking, so kids standing on Haunted Mansion, kids getting out of the roller coaster on Big Thunder Mountain and trying to like climb on the rocks. Just all kinds of crazy stuff. Or as Shaden Kennedy says here, Small World. Oh my god, the kids misbehave on Small World so badly.
Really?
It is just, I mean, I dare parents to see how their kids act at Disneyland during Grad Night. It is so shameful. So, anyway, that is my magical experience with Grad Nights. And let me tell you, cast members who have worked Grad Nights before do not look forward to Grad Nights every year. To them, it is a terrible time of year. For me, I always found the adventure of Grad Nights to be kind of fun. I mean, you never know what you're gonna see because it's different every time. There's just so much craziness that kids can come up with. So so that's my rant about Grad Night.
That's so bizarre to think that people. Well, let's see. Sam the Griff said, "Do they not do bag checks for the grad students?" I'm assuming they do bag checks times 1,000 on Grad Night, but that's so bizarre to think that people would do that kind of stuff in Disneyland of all places. I mean, save it for the skate park. Save it for, I don't know, your backyard or something. Leave Disney out of it. But that's so bizarre. I don't even want to think about visiting during that time. I mean, I probably would never visit during that time. But anyways, yeah. Thank you, Alex, for giving us your experience on Grad Nights. Well, I guess I do have one question. Grad Nights, is it for college students or is it for high school students? I always got confused when it came to who Grad Night is actually for.
Grad Nights are for high school students who are graduating.
Oh, even worse.
And like I said, they moved the Grad Nights to California Adventure.
The lame park, so kids won't get into too much trouble.
Yeah.
Well, anyways, again, thank you, Alex, for giving us your story, your horror story, really, about Grad Nights. But we're going to go ahead and move on to our second and final topic of the day, Disneyland's size. Now, Alex did put out a video, like I said at the beginning of the podcast, he did put out a video this morning, I believe, talking about this. It
was this afternoon.
This afternoon. He did put out a video this afternoon talking about this topic in depth. So, Alex, why don't you go ahead and start off the discussion for us?
Absolutely. So, basically, people want to know, how did Disneyland expand to the way it is today? Or some people don't even know that Disneyland expanded to how it is now. Some people think that Disneyland was always the way it was. Well, Disneyland was a lot smaller back in 1955. So basically, the park was kind of heart-shaped, with the northern end of the park being like 4 times as wide as the southern end of the park, and basically they had all the rides and attractions inside the park boundary. But over the years, they've had to expand that park boundary. So the first expansion that occurred was when Walt Disney added the Grand Canyon diorama to the eastern side of the park. And Imagineers knew that by building this massive building that houses the diorama, that it might kind of block the future expansion of the park in that area. So what they did was they expanded the railroad tracks. And as you know, the railroad circles the park and acts as the barrier or the boundary of the exterior of the park. So anyway, they moved the track a bit further out, adding about 5 extra acres to where the Tomorrowland area is today. And that was the first expansion of the boundary of the park, if you don't count Holidayland, which I mentioned in my video. But the next major expansion actually happened when they added New Orleans Square to Disneyland. So before there was New Orleans Square, there was just Frontierland and Adventureland, and they met in an area where there was the Frontierland Railroad Station, and the area was very close to the river, so it wasn't as expanded as it is today. And what they did was they moved the railroad tracks further out, adding another 5 acres to the park. And then they built Pirates of the Caribbean kind of split in half. So the Blue Bayou area is within the park boundary, but the Spanish Main, where you travel through at the later half of the ride, is outside the park boundary. And so is the Haunted Mansion. The actual ride part of the Haunted Mansion is located outside the park boundary. And so basically at this time, when they added New Orleans Square, Disneyland was already 70 acres. After all, in 1955, it started out as a 60-acre park. So anyway, after the addition of New Orleans Square, it became 70 acres. And then the next addition to the size of the park actually happened when they added It's a Small World, because It's a Small World came from the New York World's Fair of 1964 and 65, and Walt wanted to add it to Fantasyland. But unfortunately, there was really no space to add that ride in Fantasyland, so they had to expand Fantasyland. And that's where they moved the flat northern end of the park and made it kind of peaked. So the train actually now makes more of a circular shape around the park as opposed to a heart shape. And anyway, they added about 10 extra acres to the park when they added It's a Small World, and that brought the park to being 80 acres in size. And then, of course, there were other little expansions here and there, like when they added Bear Country in 1972, where Splash Mountain is today. Bear Country was a 3-acre installation off the western side of the park. And then Toontown was added to the park. Toontown is 5 acres. They added that to the northern end of the park outside the park boundary. And so that brought Disneyland to being 88 acres in size. Now today, the latest expansion of the park is Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, as you know. And as we all know, Star Wars Galaxy's Edge is going to be a 14-acre addition, although 4 acres of that already was part of Disneyland. So technically, it's only a 10-acre addition to the park, bringing Disneyland to being 98 acres in size.
98 acres.
And, yep, 98 acres. So that's a big park when you think about it. And if you were to compare it to Magic Kingdom in Walt Disney World, Magic Kingdom Park is 107 acres.
Oh, wow.
So really, Disneyland now is only 9 acres smaller than...
Really?
Yeah, so it's really not that much bigger, honestly. And what I was talking about in my video was that, people always tell me, oh, well, Magic Kingdom Park is so much bigger. And I tell them, really, it's only 9 acres bigger. That's it. It's not that much bigger. As a matter of fact, Disneyland and Magic Kingdom Park have the same width. They're both 2,200 feet wide.
Interesting.
So, yes. So basically, the parks are almost the exact same size. What makes Magic Kingdom Park feel so much bigger? Well, it's the fact that they have less rides and attractions. Everything there is more spread out. So it makes the park feel larger because there's more walking space between things, especially the hub of the park. The hub at Disneyland is only half the size of the one at Magic Kingdom Park. So it automatically, when you reach the hub, it feels so much bigger than at Disneyland. But really, the parks are pretty much the same size. So in any case, that is the history of Disneyland's expansion. So the next question goes, where will Disneyland expand next? I mean, once they finish Star Wars Land, where can they go? Because if you're looking at this photograph, this aerial photograph of Disneyland, as you can see on the screen here, Disneyland is surrounded by all these buildings. It's surrounded by the Indiana Jones building on the bottom left, which above it is the Pirates building, and above that is the Haunted Mansion building. Above that is Splash Mountain building. Then you have the Winnie the Pooh building that is on the left-hand side of the Rivers of America. Then you have Star Wars Land, which has the two major building attractions there. And then you have Toontown at the northern end of the park blocking that. Then you have It's a Small World blocking the rest of the park. And then, of course, the Grand Canyon and Primeval World dioramas are blocking the bottom right-hand corner of the park. So really, where is there space to expand the park now? Because the only area of the park that isn't surrounded by buildings that are highly popular is the Tomorrowland area on the right side, on the top right corner of the park. So basically, what's right next to that? Literally, at one point, only 10 feet away is Harbor Boulevard from Disneyland. The only thing separating them is a little service road for Disney. So there's been talk, actually, of where will the park expand to next. And there was rumor once, and it might eventually be true, because Disneyland has to keep expanding. This much we know. Disneyland has to keep on expanding in order to fit more people and fit more attractions and to keep growing the business. So the idea was to move Harbor Boulevard over several hundred yards. Wow. To allow expansion space to the Tomorrowland side of the park. And let me tell you, that is a multi-billion-dollar project. So, but when you think about it, Disneyland is surrounded by all these popular rides. Pirates, Haunted Mansion, Indy, the new Star Wars Land, Grand Canyon, Primeval World Diorama. It's surrounded by popular buildings that you can't just demolish because you're demolishing a popular ride. So where will Disneyland expand to next? And that's the biggest question. So I'd like to hear from people listening right now. Where do they think Disneyland will expand to next? Do they think that Disney will demolish, let's say, Indiana Jones to add another land in that area? Or do they think that eventually New Orleans Square will go? What do you guys think? And more importantly, Matterhorn Matt, what do you think of all this?
Well, first of all, I want to point out the fact that you said Magic Kingdom is only, you said 9 acres, correct?
Magic Kingdom Park is 9 acres bigger than Disneyland.
That is insane. I'm still trying to process that. Okay, I don't know. I'm looking at this map right now up on screen, and I'm picturing the map of the Magic Kingdom. I'm trying to see how all it... I don't know. It's just baffling to me to think that Magic Kingdom is only 9 acres bigger than Disneyland. And you said they were roughly the same width as well, too, I believe so, that's just crazy. I don't even understand, but from...
Well, if you think about it, Disneyland Park is kind of circular in shape as you're looking at it now. I mean, minus the fact that Star Wars Land will make it weird shaped. Mm-hmm. Disneyland's kind of circular shaped. Well, Magic Kingdom Park is more square shaped. And so that square shape is what makes it slightly bigger. But honestly, if you want to be really technical, in Magic Kingdom Park, anybody can look this up right now on Google and Google an image, the map of Magic Kingdom Park in real time. What do you call it? The actual map, not like a cartoon map.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at an actual map of Magic Kingdom Park, if you look north of Fantasyland at the Florida park, there is a large 15-acre area of the north of Fantasyland that is all swampland. They don't actually use it. So if you really want to be technical, like they only use like about, let me do the math in my head. They only use about 93 acres of their park, not even the full 107 acres. So I don't even know if that's the right math. I'm not even doing. Okay, I'll admit I did not do the math in my head. I just kind of came up with a number. So, but let me just say that there is a 15-acre area north of Fantasyland inside the park boundary of Magic Kingdom Park, and it's unused. And as a matter of fact, they've already blocked off the northern end of the park with all these buildings, with the Be Our Guest restaurant, the Little Mermaid ride, even Haunted Mansion is part of one of those northern area buildings that block them from expanding north. So I don't even think they had plans to use that 15 acres of swampland within the park. So that's just amazing, that they have that extra 15 acres that they may never use because they already blocked it off with all these buildings. Oh, I see you're bringing the map on the screen.
Yeah, I did bring up the map of the Magic Kingdom. It's looking. There is a large chunk of land up here that is not being used, like you mentioned, and it is blocked off by all these buildings, which is, oh my gosh. It's still, I don't know, I'm still trying to process the fact that this is nearly identical in size as, well, I'm not going to be able to find the other window, but as Disneyland. That is insane, but anyways, yeah, I did bring up the map here, but I was just trying to just look for myself to try and convince myself that what you're saying is true. This is mind-blowing to me, really.
It's true. Like, yeah, if you look at the map of the Magic Kingdom Park and you look at where Big Thunder Mountain is on the left, and you take that and you measure all the way over to the right where basically almost to where Space Mountain is, that line, if you can draw one in your head, that area is about 2,200 feet wide, which is the same width as Disneyland from the Rivers of America over to Tomorrowland. Same width, 2,200 feet.
Very interesting. That is crazy. Well, anyways, back to how Disneyland can expand to accommodate more attractions. Looking at this, well, I just want to point out, I always laugh when I see Toontown up here. It's just a little rectangle that looks so out of place from the rest of the park. I just felt the need to point that out. But I do feel like the only way that Disneyland can expand, really, I don't know, is if they get rid of Toontown, maybe, and use the the northern area for maybe like a new land. But then again, they'd have to move all this backstage buildings, all these I believe some of these buildings house the parade floats. I mean, you can't really move stuff like that to a new location really that easily. But I mean, they could always get rid of the Fantasyland Theater and use that as sort of an expansion pad for Galaxy's Edge, or even for Fantasyland. I feel like that would be one of the routes Disney might take. But Alex did mention getting rid of some of the buildings in Tomorrowland, which again is another big possibility that I could totally see Disney doing, because I don't think Tomorrowland needs all of the buildings that it currently occupies. But then again, look at all this area up here that's just occupied by Autopia, by the monorail. That could be used as something as well. Alex and I have talked about this.
Yes, if you circle the area with your little cursor there, of where the Autopia and the monorail kind of intertwine, that area there, Disney can easily demolish all of that. And there's a good, oh God, that's got to be 12 acres. That's got to be 12 acres of space that Disney could build another land out of, right there at the corner of Tomorrowland. And so, I mean, that's a huge chunk of land that really is only being used for Autopia and partly for the monorail. So, so Disney could really use that space. And of course, it would mean that if they used it, the monorail would have to be cut short because it weaves through that area. But yeah, they could do it. They could cut short the monorail and build a new 12-acre land in that spot. That's how big that area is.
Yeah, I mean, I could see them cutting that entire area in half, using half of it for Tomorrowland, using half for Fantasyland. But this also brings up a huge problem where the monorail, or not the monorail, Autopia, part of it lies on top of the show building for the submarines. So we've talked about this on previous episodes before as well. You can't really do something, you can't really demolish Autopia and the submarines very easily, I guess would be the words, and very cheaply.
Yeah.
That way would cost a lot of money to get the land leveled out. I don't know the first thing about engineering, but all I know is that it would not be easy for Disney to just simply get rid of Autopia, or even shorten Autopia and even get rid of the submarine voyage as well, because of what I just said earlier.
Yeah. No, it would totally be a difficult project, but I could definitely see, I mean, because if you honestly think about it, it's the cheapest option. Even though it's going to cost a lot of money to demolish all of that, it's the cheapest option at the moment, because the only other real option for expanding the park is to move over Harbor Boulevard. And so it's just, but I mean, it's mind-boggling because Disney has really like drawn themselves into a box now, and so it's just interesting to see. Yeah, I mean, where can they go? I mean, you know, so.
I mean, they could shorten the rivers of America again to make room for something, but I don't think Disney would be willing to do that. But man, it is crazy to think about the fact that there were talks of moving an entire street to make room for an amusement park. That again is mind-boggling to me. Like Alex said, that would cost billions of dollars to do. It's not as simple as just cutting and pasting the street right next to it a couple yards over. I'm sure it involves rerouting the parts of the highway and would involve relocating all of the businesses located on the harbor. It would be a nightmare. I would hate to be in Disney's shoes when this eventually comes up. Expanding over Harbor Boulevard, that is insane. Now, I did see someone in chat, I believe, let me see if I can find it. Sam the Griff said, an underground tunnel to a park across Harbor Boulevard. Now, this brings in a whole different discussion of whether Disney is going to build a third park for the Disneyland Resort. We've gone into depth about this countless times before, but I feel like this really brings it back where we need to talk about it again, but we can get to that in a bit. But like Alex said, everything, look at all the buildings that border Disneyland. You can't simply just move these. I mean, they did move some of them for the construction of Galaxy's Edge, but others like the Haunted Mansion show building, the Pirates show building, the Indy show building, it's not that simple, I guess is what we're trying to say. It is, man, I'm still trying to comprehend the fact that Disneyland is only 9 acres smaller than the Magic Kingdom. That is very that's just been the only thing that's been in my mind since you mentioned it. But now this, like I just said, this does bring in the mention of adding a third park to Disneyland. Alex and I have gone into depth about this before. Let's see. Let's start off. What do you think? I'm trying to figure out how to word this. Alex, do you think Disney would plan on building a third park with... How am I going to word this? I'm just going to say, do you think Disney will plan on building a third park anytime soon?
Yes. I do think that Disney is now facing the fact that they may have to build a third park. And here's why. I mean, a lot of people think that that Disney is building theme parks because it's leisure. Like, oh, you know, we can do this and earn more money off of it. But honestly, Disney builds extra theme parks in their areas out of necessity. They build extra theme parks to handle the crowds that visit the popular parks. So, for instance, Disneyland in California, they added California Adventure not just because they thought that they could make money off of people, but because they knew that Disneyland was becoming so popular that they needed to draw crowds away from the park. And so they built California Adventure to help even out the crowds and make it more of a destination location. And same thing with Disneyland Paris. They added the studio park because of the fact that the Paris park started becoming more popular, and they needed to they also needed to make it more of a destination location and have people visit this resort. So Disney realizes that having a full-on resort with multiple parks is a better business proposition than having just one park by itself. And so the thing about California Adventure and Disneyland is that both California Adventure and Disneyland are not only surrounded by buildings, but they're surrounded by roads. And there's nowhere to go. I mean, if you look at California Adventure has reached its maximum. California Adventure, they only have a little parking lot just south of the Guardians of the Galaxy Tower. There's this tiny little parking lot there, maybe about 5 acres in size, and that's all they have for expansion now. That's it. That's all they really have. And so the question goes, where will they expand that park? And I think now Disney realizes, well, there is a limit to how far we can expand. So they may need to build a third park to accommodate more guests and keep building their business. Because as you know, a good business keeps getting larger. It doesn't stay the same. It keeps getting larger. So Disneyland, the reason why Disneyland's been expanding all these years is because of that business motto. The business gets bigger. The business gets larger. And Disneyland is a perfect example of how a business goes from being, you know, a nice big, you know, leisurely size to suddenly being, you know, like I say, busting its belt, you know, trying to get larger. So, as I can see, you've pulled up the map of California Adventure. Yeah, so there's that little parking lot on the bottom right-hand side of the area there next to Cars Land, and that's all they have for expansion. So here's my thought on the expansion to a third park. And a lot of people may disagree with me on this. A lot of people say, well, Disney will build their third park on their Toy Story parking lot, which is located catty-corner from the resort. But I don't think so. It's a bit too far away for it to be part of Disneyland Resort, because the amount of traffic to get people to move, because I mean, if you think about it, Disney wants people to visit, like buy park hopper tickets and things like that. And so in order to get people to go to the third park, you can't just ask them to walk a mile to get to the third park. You know what I mean?
Especially when they've already walked a mile from their hotel to get to the park.
Exactly. And then buses can only be so efficient. Getting people to that parking lot. So I can see you looked at the parking lot. The parking lot, there's a delay, so that's why I'm like, oh, you just looked at the parking lot. Yeah, so I don't think Disney will actually be building their third park on that area because it's too far away. Here's where I think they will be building their third park. If you move the map up towards where Disneyland and California Adventure meet, and you look over Harbor Boulevard to the right, I believe what you'll see there is a row of hotels, and then a little parking lot called Pumbaa Parking Lot. If you look there, that is where I think Disney will build its third park. It'll be a small park, maybe about 55 acres in size, which is the size that California Adventure opened in 2001. But it is a third park nonetheless, and I think there's room there between Disney Way, Harbor Boulevard, and the 5 Freeway, that little triangular section of buildings. I think Disney will build their third park in that area. So that's my thought on it.
Interesting. I mean, well, because if you go to the left, it's all downtown Disney. You can't really build a third park here. And if you go any farther, it's housing areas, apartments, and of course the Mickey and Friends parking structure. This does. I'm trying to imagine how much it would cost to buy up all of this land, to kick out its owners, relocate them potentially to a new location. And I mean, where else would you relocate them to? Scrolling around the map, there's not a lot of open spaces for other businesses to just get built from the ground up, but it is very close to the park. They would, this is very, gosh, like I said earlier, I'd hate to be in Disney's shoes when this conversation comes up, building a third park for Disneyland Resort. They would have to, man, I don't even know what they'd have to do. They might have to build a new parking structure. They might have to do something with Harbor Boulevard. Yeah, it's a real predicament. But this does seem like a nice little area of land that Alex mentioned, very close to the park. But I believe this is where Disney was supposed to do the Eastern Gateway, right down here where this area is cleared. I believe is where part of the construction was supposed to begin, and we all know how that went down. We all know how how the businesses were opposed to this idea of I guess bypassing the businesses all entirely and having the new Eastern Gateway parking structure, whatever, appear. I can't even remember where it was. It was somewhere in this area, I believe. But I don't think, I'm not a businessman, but I don't think the businesses would be down for this. I'm sure if Disney offered them enough money, of course they would be, but Disney only has so much money to offer businesses. I mean, there's hotels, there's a Denny's, an IHOP, there's a McDonald's here, there's at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe even 7 hotels here. Gosh, like I said, I'm repeating myself, but like I said, I would hate to be in Disney's shoes if this topic comes up in conversation. But gosh, I just love having Alex around. He's so, I wouldn't know any of this. I wouldn't know to think of any of this. Like, I'm still trying to wrap my mind around Disneyland being 9 acres smaller than the Magic Kingdom. That's how... well,
hey,
anyways.
You want to know a fun fact?
Mm-hmm. Yes, of course.
Okay. If you stand in New Orleans Square after the park closes, let's say maybe 2 hours after the park closes, and all the music is turned off, you can hear the cars along the 5 Freeway.
Really? In New Orleans Square?
Yes! In New Orleans Square.
That is bizarre. It looks so far away. There's only so much so many mind explosions my mind can handle. That's crazy. I wouldn't think that you'd be able to hear the cars on the highway. I mean, it does look like quite a distance away. I don't think I'd be able to walk that. Maybe. But anyways, well, let's see. I did see a lot of people in chat saying to get rid of Autopia, get rid of the submarine voyage, so I don't think a lot of people would be that opposed to getting rid of Autopia, or even just shortening it. They don't need... Look at how big Autopia is compared to... Let me try and find compared to Big Thunder Mountain. I mean, I don't really have like a way of like copying and pasting Big Thunder onto Autopia, but Autopia, the track for Autopia is bigger than the land for Big Thunder, which is very interesting. I wouldn't be opposed to just shortening Autopia, maybe. But then again, how would they shorten it? Where would they shorten it to? It'd have to go at least up until right here. That's the only thing I can think of. And that's still a large chunk of land. You're not really gaining much from that either. And there is also this this little lagoon right here from the motorboat cruise. Something along the lines of that they could put something there, but it's such a small piece of land. I don't think Disney would bother. But if they did decide to remove Autopia completely, look at all that land that suddenly gets freed up for more attractions, for more restaurants, for more experiences to have. I'm repeating myself, but I would not be opposed to removing Autopia in way of a Beauty and the Beast themed land, or an expansion to maybe even replace Autopia with the Tron Light Cycle attraction. I would not be opposed to that. Gosh, it really is quite the predicament Disney has gotten themselves in. Then again, you can't really blame Walt for this. He didn't really know any better when it came to Disneyland. I mean, when he got to Disney World, of course he knew to buy all the land he could get, so this wouldn't happen. But yeah, this is a very interesting topic to talk about. Swagford says they can put Frozen Ever After there. Maybe, but maybe not. Let's see. I'm just trying to catch up on chat. Okay, there's really not a lot of... Please God, get rid of Autopia. They should move Star Tours and put it in Galaxy's Edge. That's the only surviving opening day attraction in Tomorrowland. I wouldn't mind losing the only surviving opening day attraction in Tomorrowland if it meant getting new attractions for Fantasyland or for Tomorrowland. But anyways, I think that's gonna wrap up this topic, unless Alex has some closing words he'd like to say.
Spaghetti.
Oh, sauce. Spaghetti sauce. I'll continue the sentence. My closing word is sauce. Okay. Oh my goodness. But anyways, we're gonna be doing a short little Q&A if you guys want to ask some questions. I can't stay for too much longer. I do have something I need to do in a little bit. But anyways, if you guys would like to ask us some questions in the chat, some questions about our channel, about the topics we discussed in general, it's up to you guys. I'd be fine with a motion simulator adventure through inner space. So would I. I feel like we've talked about this before. There's countless ideas of how they could replace adventure through inner space with the motion simulator. You can even look at that voice crack. You can even look at Body Wars and Epcot as sort of as sort of not really a sequel to Inner Space, but sort of along the same line as Inner Space, shrinking down, going inside the human body. But I did see people a while back in the chat talk about replacing or theming an adventure through inner space attraction around Ant-Man, which I feel would be a perfect fit for if Disney did decide to bring the attraction back. But Shaden says garlic bread. Thank you. Me too. I love garlic bread. Oh my gosh. There was Alicia did say in all caps, demolish Autopia. So yeah. Well, one thing we didn't bring up is the fact that if Disney did decide to build, man, I closed out of the maps. If Disney did decide to build a third park on the Toy Story lot, they could use monorails or people movers to transport the guests, but then again, monorails and people movers do cost a lot of money to build and to maintain. But it's always a possibility. I feel like if Disney had the opportunity to build their third theme park on the Toy Story lot, I feel like they would go for people movers to transport guests from the Esplanade to the third park. But then again, I would like it to be in walking distance from the Esplanade to the third park if it ever gets built. Let's see. I'd be fine with the
You know what's funny? Is Sam the Griff earlier. I was just going through the comments right now, and I just saw that he wrote something where he says, "Where do you learn these things, Alex? I feel like a Disney beginner when I listen to the facts you have." Honestly, sometimes I surprise myself when I mean, like, I know that sounds weird. Like, how do you surprise yourself when you know something? But like I don't know. Like, over the years, I've just really paid attention to the stuff that I've like caught on and found out, and I just have all this knowledge that's just sitting up in my brain and doesn't really do anything until I finally make a video on it or something like that.
Yeah, I do feel the same way sometimes when Alex talks, because he's so knowledgeable about almost everything when it comes to Disneyland. But one day I'll get to that level, hopefully. Let's see. Sam asked if Disneyland opened without Space Mountain. This was a while back he asked, but Disneyland did open without Space Mountain. I believe the Magic Kingdom got Space Mountain first, and then it came to Disneyland. I want to say 77, but I could be mixing up my numbers.
You are correct.
Oh,
77.
Yes, I did it. I remembered.
As a matter of fact, if you are in the queue for Space Mountain, they have references to the year 77 everywhere.
Yeah. I believe it's called Space Station 77, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Oh, okay. Oh my goodness. Swagford said Toontown isn't big enough to put something else there, even if you remove it. That is a good point. It doesn't have to be, although it doesn't have to be a whole land, like a whole new land of the park. It could just be a small expansion of Fantasyland or whatever Disney would like to expand there. It could be a Tangled theme area, a Beauty and the Beast themed area. I bring those up a lot because that's something I'd really like to see in Disneyland, but yeah. Did they close Primeval Diorama a few months ago and brought it back? I'm not sure. I feel like they might have. I'm not sure when they added the new projection effects to the diorama. I feel like that was during the construction for that went on during Galaxy's Edge when the railroad was closed, but I probably am wrong.
In 2016, when they closed the railroad, they refurbished the Grand Canyon and Primeval World scenes. They never took them out. They've always been there. But they refurbished them and added new projection effects inside the dioramas.
There we go. Straight from the source, guys. Let's see. Do you know why Disney closed Paradise Pier? They're closing... Well, if you're asking why it's currently closed, they are closing it to transform it into the magical, the amazing, the wonderful Pixar Pier. That was sarcasm for those who didn't catch it. But if you're asking why they're closing Paradise Pier to replace it with Pixar Pier, I do not have an answer for that. I'm sorry. I wish I did. But, yeah. Paradise Pier is all boarded up, all netted up to prepare for its reopening as Pixar Pier in June, July. I can't even remember. I block out the memories when it comes to Pixar Pier, so I can't remember the opening date for it. So let's see. Tokyo's Primeval Whirl is in Big Thunder, and it's awesome, says Swagford. Interesting. Very interesting. Let's see. I'm trying to scroll up in chat and find some of the questions or some of the comments that we missed while we were talking about the expansion. Did you see that video of the California Screaming rollback? I don't think so. What is a roll? Oh, on the loop they didn't make it all the way. I did see that. I believe I did. A couple months ago, I believe.
Oh, I saw that video too.
I feel like I always think to myself, I'd love to be a part of something like that, but I would also not love to be a part of something like that. Ay. Let's see. Should the Disney company keep the Braves spring training? I don't think I know exactly what that is. Says wannabe hype beast. Jay the Bachelor says, Alex, do cast members ride attractions after closing? This is the question everyone's been dying to know, Alex. Do cast members get to ride the attractions after closing?
Really the only cast members that can do that are the attractions cast members. But no, after the park closes, it's not like a bunch of cast members go, hey, I'm gonna go ride Space Mountain now or something like that. Like, no, that does not happen. I mean, for one thing, everybody's got a job to do, and so it's like you have to stay where you are and finish what you're doing. But also the fact that they just wouldn't let you. It's just not part of the thing. But I mean, if you were a Space Mountain cast member and the park closed and there's no more guests, yeah, sometimes they go for a spin before they close down the attraction. But actually, there's a funny story. That before Grad Nights, see, here's why I loved Grad Nights, because the park would close for 2 hours. So the park would close, let's say, at 4 p.m. No, 6 p.m. The park would close at 6 p.m. and then would reopen at 8 p.m. for Grad Night. Well, in that 2-hour period, they would let cast members go on rides. Ooh. They would say, okay, you guys, you can go. So I was a busboy at the time, and I would clean tables and whatever, and it was before Grad Night, and the park closed at 6 p.m. and then was going to reopen at 8 p.m. for Grad Night. And so in that 2-hour period where I was just working, our leads were like, okay, guys, you can go on rides or whatever. So it was a special little thing, like a tradition that they let us do, and so we would go on rides. And I remember a bunch of us, we were all in our costumes and everything, and we would all go to I remember we all ran to Space Mountain, and we all got on Space Mountain, and then afterwards we went on Indiana Jones Adventure and all that, because the cast members who operate those rides still have to stay there until the park reopens. So it was all they did was just keep the rides running. So it was yeah.
That sounds awesome. I'd love to ride Space Mountain and me be the only one on the train. That's one of my dreams. Let's see. Any unbuilt lands or attractions that you wish existed today? For me, I'd say Thunder Mesa and the Western River Expedition, Beastly Kingdom, and the original concept for the Indiana Jones adventure. That is a very interesting question. I'd agree with you. Thunder Mesa and the Western River Expedition would be on the top of my list, along with... I don't think Westcott counts. I wouldn't really want to see Westcott anyways in Disneyland. A lot of people say that it would be miles better than what we have now in California Adventure, but it would just be going through the same problems and transitions that is currently going on with Epcot in Florida. So I wouldn't really want Westcott, at least just because of those reasons. I feel like the only other one I'd like to see, there's the one I always bring up, Discovery Bay. That was supposed to be an extension of Frontierland, Jules Verne-esque. I have a whole video on that if you guys would like to check that out. I also have a video on Thunder Mesa and the Western River Expedition. if you guys would like to check that out as well. And I think Fast Pass Facts just put out a video just the other day about the original concept for the Indiana Jones adventure. So if you guys are interested in that, you can head over to their channel, Fast Pass Facts. Really great channel, really awesome animations. But let's see, Alex, do they allow you to turn the lights on in Space Mountain during those times?
There was one time where I think they were closing the park for the Halloween party. And once again, it was one of those things where there was a 2-hour downtime where the park was completely closed. I don't know if it was for Halloween. I actually can't remember when it was. Maybe it was Grad Night. But one time we all ran to Space Mountain to go on Space Mountain during our shift. So I was still on the clock being paid. And we ran to Space Mountain, rode it, and then they said, would you guys like to go on it with the lights on? So we were still sitting in our seats, and we were like, yeah. And so they went and turned all the lights on, and then we rode it again with the lights on.
Interesting.
So that was fun. Liquors Sweet asks, what does Alex work as at Disneyland? To answer that question, I don't work at Disneyland anymore. I used to work at Disneyland from 2009 to 2015. But currently right now I am a chef and business owner for a small cafe in the city of Laguna Niguel here in Southern California. So I work for myself. So yeah.
Yeah. Super awesome. I was going to say something. I was going to say I can't remember. I can't remember what I was going to say. Anyways, Wannabe Hypebeast says, should Disney get rid of Journey into Your Imagination? At this point, yes. Demolish it completely, rebuild the original Journey into Imagination. Yeah, that's my 2 cents on that. I did want to point out, this is what I was going to say, I did want to point out that my friends and I, a couple friends and I, did film the brand new grilled cheese video. Will be coming out very shortly, I promise you guys. I'm so sorry it took this long to make. We had a lot of fun filming it this morning. Made a huge mess in the kitchen. But hopefully you guys will find it enjoying. I know we had a lot of fun making it.
I was wondering about that.
Yeah.
I was like, where's that video been?
I was supposed to have it for my 2,000 subscribers special. Now I'm almost to 4,000. So I guess I can just have it 4,000 subscribers special. But I do have the original video we filmed like a month ago. It is on my phone. I have not found a way to get it off of my phone just because it is a 4K 60 frames per second video file, a 20-minute length at that. Big no-no when it comes to dragging and dropping from your phone onto your computer. Just a big no-no in general. I don't know why I decided to film it in 4K 60 frames per second, but we learned our lesson that time, and we did better this time. I have all the footage safe and sound on my computer, as long as my computer doesn't break. Knock on wood. But yeah, that video will be coming out very soon. I want to say, let's see, I want to say within the next 2 weeks it will be coming out. So yeah, that was my announcement for the day. And let's see. I'm trying to think if I have anything else to say. I think that's gonna do it for this episode of Matterhorn Mondays. I'm looking at the screen right now. It says episode 21, and we're at episode 32 now. I do need to get that fixed. A lot of people told me to get that fixed. I promise you guys, by the next podcast, by next Saturday, it will be fixed. It will say episode 32, 33, 32.
Don't give us more of your empty lies.
It's probably not going to be fixed by that time. I'm just gonna point that out. It may or may not be fixed, but I will do my best to try and remember to fix it. But anyways, guys, we hope you all enjoyed. And Alex, do you have any closing thoughts for the lovely people watching the stream?
Please check out my channel.
Yeah, guys, go check out Alex's channel. He makes really, when I mean this very wholly, he makes the really amazing videos. Not a lot of other YouTubers go as in-depth as he does on his videos. Plus, he's a lot more knowledgeable than a lot of other YouTubers out there, including me. But yeah, I would definitely, you guys, if you're not subscribed to Alex, do it right now, or you will not be able, or I will not be releasing the grilled cheese video unless you subscribe to Alex.
Yeah, because you know what? Because Matterhorn Matt's subscriber count is quickly catching up to mine, and that can't happen.
Yeah, guys, keep Alex ahead of me in subscriber count. But anyways, guys, thank you so much for joining us. As I mentioned in my previous video that came out yesterday, actually, on the Tiki Room, there will be no episode of Historyland coming out this week. Instead, I will be releasing a short little video teasing. I don't really want to go into too much depth. You will find out if you watch the end of the video that I released yesterday. No Historyland next week, but the week after will be Historyland. Will be returning better than ever. I mean that, better than ever. It's gonna be spiced up in a lot of awesome ways. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. We want to know what you guys think of all the topics we discussed, whether it be your favorite times to visit the parks, or what you think Disney could do to expand the parks, or what you think Disney could do to build a third park in Anaheim. But release the grilled cheese, says Shaden. Unless you don't subscribe to Alex, there will be no grilled cheese video. Links to my Twitter and Alex's Twitter will be in the description. My Patreon will be linked also in the description, and ways to donate to Alex will be also in. Well, Alex, why don't you go ahead and let all the viewers know how they can donate to you.
Okay, well, basically, if you'd like to donate to my channel, you just get the free app called Venmo, spelled Venmo, and you create an account, and then you find my username, which is @AYAlexander, and then you create a transfer request for however much money you'd like to give me. However much money you'd like to give me. So...
So yeah, guys, all the information on that will be in the description. I think that's it. Yep, I'm pretty sure that's it. We hope you all enjoyed this episode, and as always, have a great big beautiful tomorrow.